Good morning, friends. Welcome back or welcome to Acre Homestead. My name is Becky. Today we are going to be planting something super fun and interesting. We are going to be planting some wine cap mushrooms along with some other things that I have around here that I need to get in the ground today. Today is April 9th. It's actually Mother's Day today. We've already done all of our Mother's Day celebrations today, so I'm gonna get out here and do something that I've been putting off. I ordered these mushroom kits about 2 months ago and they've just been sitting in their bags. I haven't opened them or anything. I was actually kind of worried about them, except I just sat here and read the instructions and it is okay to keep them in their container as long as you don't open them. I purchased wine cap mushrooms and decided to plant out wine cap mushrooms because I mulch around my garden with wood chips. And I was researching that wine cap mushrooms actually prefer to grow in wood chips. That's their preferred substrate medium to grow in. And I have copious amounts of wood chips around here, and I have areas that are shady that I'm going to be able to grow in. I really wanted to grow mushrooms, but when I was researching the way you do it when you grow in those logs, you need very specific types of wood and you have to plug them and seal them and do all these things, and that seemed kind of intimidating and overwhelming to me, being, you know, kind of a new gardener in general. Trying to learn that skill as well just seemed a little bit too much for my second year gardening. But to plant wine cap mushrooms, you don't need anything special like that. No special logs, no special equipment. And one thing that I've noticed is that I have mushrooms growing everywhere in my garden. They're growing in the wood chip mulch that I have spread throughout my beds. And that's exactly what I want. I want these mushrooms to grow in areas that I can't grow produce. I'm not gonna grow, you know, a tomato plant in the middle of my walkway. Well, that's not entirely true. We'll get to that later though. But I'm not going to be growing vegetables necessarily in my walkways in my raised bed area. So if I can grow mushrooms, I think that would be a great use of space to maximize the space I have. And mushrooms also like to grow in shade, and I have plenty of shade around here. Being in the Pacific Northwest, we do shade really well. I ordered 2 boxes. I think I ordered way too much because it says you only need 1/4 cup of the substrate per square foot. So I'm going to be planting this mushroom mycelium everywhere, but I do have one designated area that I kind of want to be like my mushroom growing area because it's an area that doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. I purchased these wine cap mushroom spores through Northwest Spore Company, so I'll link them down below if you guys are interested in checking them out. They do have a bunch of different varieties of mushrooms. These are just the ones I decided to try first. So this is where I'm thinking of planting my mushrooms out, right along around here in this whole area, because I have 2 fruit trees here and they're going to help shade this area. Plus I've got my herb beds here. And I don't bring a wheelbarrow around here very often, so this isn't going to get a ton of foot traffic. And if you come in closer, this is another reason what inspired me to plant these mushrooms in here as well, is I have 2 different varieties of mushrooms. I mean, I have this one and that one, and these aren't edible, I don't believe. I don't know much about mushrooms, and there's some there too. But when I found the mushrooms here, I figured this might be a good spot to go ahead and get some of these mushroom spores planted. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and kind of rake away a few of the wood chips. You don't have to get all of them, but when I was watching videos on how to plant your wine cap mushrooms, it was saying that it's best if the substrate actually touches a little bit of the native soil, and then you want to bury it in wood chips. So I'm going to go ahead and push away some of the wood chips. The ideal time to plant your mushroom spores out, from my understanding, is springtime, and we're still in spring, so this is a great time to do it. I didn't wait too late. Be harvesting them in fall, from what I understand. My plan is to dehydrate these mushrooms if I get any. Hopefully I do, but we'll see. And that is me getting distracted by weeds. When I see them, I can't help it. I just have to pull them. I got around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trees. And then I got this whole area here kind of cleared out. So let's go ahead and get some of this wine cap mushroom mycelium in the ground. I guess we're technically not planting it. We're just laying it on top, adding a lot more wood chips. I need to go get something to cut this open with. I'll be right back. Went ahead and I got a knife. I'm curious to know what this smells like. Oh. It smells really good, actually. It smells super earthy. I wonder, there's some white stuff on it, and I don't know if that's mold or if it's part of the mycelium. You see that? I'm assuming it's part of the mycelium, not mold, I hope. It just smells like earth. It smells really good. Like when you go out into the forest and you smell like that wet earth. Wow, I really like that. So it says 1/4 cup per 1 square foot. Now I'm just gonna guesstimate. I I'm not gonna measure this or anything. I'm not gonna measure how much space I have around the trees. I'm just gonna go ahead and start sprinkling it around, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, now that we got that mixed together, it's getting toasty out here. It's overcast, but it's pretty warm. I am gonna go ahead and get quite a bit more wood chips, and we wanna put at least a 2 to 3 inch layer of wood chips over top of all those areas. I got all these wood chips for free. There is a website called woodchip.com that partners with local arborists in your area. So if you're interested in getting free wood chips, I would recommend you go check that website out. I will link that in the description box below as well. It's a pretty awesome free resource. If you sign up and request to be a drop-off site, what happens is it becomes a win-win situation for you and the arborists. One, you get free wood chips, and two, the arborist doesn't then have to go pay to dump their wood chips at a local transfer station. All that to say, if you want to get some free wood chips in your area, I'd recommend checking them out. These wood chips have been sitting here for over a year, and you can see there's worms in here, and this is actually starting to break down into soil. And the white is mycelium. Those are mushroom myceliums. That's awesome. Look at these beautiful worms. Well, I am officially toasty and sweaty, but there's still more to be done. So as I've been working, I went ahead and got the hose out, and I turned it on, and I've just been letting it kind of spray on the areas I planted. I want to get it moist all the way to the soil, which takes a while when you have this much wood chips. You'd be surprised how much moisture these wood chips can hold. I'm just gonna set this here and kind of let it soak. It probably would be a good idea if I would go grab the actual sprinkler, but then I have to go get the keys to the shop, and I don't feel like doing that right now. So this is gonna work for now. And I'm just gonna continue to move that around as I do some other things. We've got some other exciting things to plant. But to recap, we got a good 4 inches or so of new wood chips around all the areas that we planted the mycelium. Look how pretty those chive flowers are. So the sun has come out, and it's absolutely beautiful out here now. I'm just gonna let the hose water those areas while we get to planting some other things that I'm excited also about planting. Oh shoot. Just fell into my raised bed. I think I just squished a few lettuces. So let me show you what I've got here. I've got in this container, I let soak overnight some, and in here also, I let those soak overnight. I have some Blue Lake pole beans from M.I. Gardner, and this washed off, but some rattlesnake pole beans as well. Last year I grew dragon tongue bush beans, and I think one of these seeds actually got mixed into it because I had one of these plants too, and so I wanted to make sure I planted these this year because I really like them. So on my loofah trellis, I have only had a few loofah plants sprout, so I'm gonna go ahead and plant some of these pole beans on that trellis as well, and I'm gonna let the pole beans and loofahs kind of grow together. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I don't want to waste that space. I'll show you which loofah plants are growing, but I figured it couldn't hurt to get something else in the ground, and then if more sprout up, then all the better. I have one loofah plant there, and I put one variety along this row, and only one of them sprouted. And then on this row, I had a better germination. These were the loofah seeds that my friend had saved and sent to me. And it looks like I have 4 of those that have sprouted. I'm gonna go ahead and get some of these pole beans along this side. I've never grown pole beans other than that one volunteer that I got last year. And I always see on Instagram and YouTube these beautiful trellises with the beans hanging down, and I hope I get something even a little bit close to that. I'm gonna plant these pretty densely. I have this feeling for some reason my loofah plants aren't going to amount to much. I don't know why. I don't feel like they're going to. So that's why I really want to make sure I got something companion planted with them, because if they don't amount to anything, I don't want to waste this beautiful trellis that I made and not have anything be productive on it. So that was kind of my feeling. And also I think it'll be pretty to have beans growing up along this trellis. So we have the peas planted, the mushrooms planted, and now we are gonna plant this year's corn. I've gotta get it, I have it under here. Right when I came out here today, I took my corn and I put them in a bucket and I just put a little bit of water in there just to kind of give them a pre-hydration soak. The variety of corn I'm planting this year, I know I've talked about it with you guys once before, but we are planting the Catalytic XRF1. This is a hybrid corn, and a couple of them were treated. I don't know what they were treated with, but 2 of the packages in there were covered in a pink something. I don't know what it was. And I was worried that maybe I ordered 2 different varieties of corn, which I did not. I did just order this one variety. It says it has a 99% germination rate. There is 150 seeds per packet, and I have 4 packets. And it's a 66-day to maturity corn. Last year yield was pretty low. I don't know, it was called True Gold, I think, and I got it from Baker Creek. And I got these itty bitty corns and they were good, but I only got out of maybe, I planted 4 packages, I think, and there weren't that many. I think there's maybe 40 in each package. And I got enough corn out of all those plants to do 2 corn salsas. Not even preserved corn salsa, just 2 corn salsas for a dinner. It was pretty sad. So I wanted to do a hybrid this year so that I could try to increase that yield a little bit. And I'm gonna sit here and read the back of the seed packets. This is from Johnny Seeds. I love Johnny Seeds because they have such great information on the back of the seed packet. It has just, I mean, you can see how much is on there. That's just planting instructions. So this is a super sweet corn variety. I'm gonna use this and I'm gonna preserve it, I'm gonna freeze it. I'm gonna plant all my corn out today at one time. Some people like to succession plant their corn. I don't wanna do that because I want all of my corn harvested and preserved all at the same time so I can just do it at one time and I don't have to worry about doing it more than once. We love eating frozen corn, so I'm not gonna be sad if we only get to eat the fresh corn a few times. One cool thing about this variety as well is the True Gold corn variety that I planted last year. I only got 1 ear per stock and the ears were really small like I mentioned earlier. This variety you should get 2 to 3 ears per stalk. So that's just going to increase my yield without having to increase my growing space at all. This is where we're going to be planting the corn. Go ahead and get started and get this bed prepped and ready to go. So I did just go inside and change. It's getting a little warm out here. I'm just going to eyeball my rows. I'm going to do about 12 inches or so between each row. And I'm gonna try to get as many rows in here as I can. I'm taking my hoe and I'm just gonna move the wood chips from the side and then we'll plant in the direct dirt. I'll probably go get some manure as well and try to work that in the soil to try to amend the soil just a little bit. This is my Back to Eden style garden back here. I started this last year. So my rows aren't completely straight, but they're great. I'm happy with them. I don't know if that's more rows than I need or less rows than I need, but I'm gonna start with that. And I think I'm gonna start planting actually on this side and work my way this way. I thought I was gonna plant this way and come this way, but because of how the trees are, this tree is in the way, that tree is in the way. So right between these 2 trees is where the sun comes through. And so these rows over here are gonna get more sun. So corn loves sun, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That is the one thing, if you're new to my channel, is I have trees all around me. And I have to be very strategic on where I plant things because of that. And I live in the Pacific Northwest. You can see clouds in the sky right now. We have a lot of overcast days. We have a lot of trees. And so you just have to be very mindful of where you're planting things because sun is important to plants. That is one of the biggest things that I'm learning with this garden is where to plant things because sun is not a given for me. So I have my seeds here and I'm gonna plant them about 4 or 5 inches apart. This is a volunteer calendula plant and I'm gonna let it just be. I just have a little stick here and I'm just gonna dig a little hole and I'll put a seed in there. So I got all my rows planted and I still have this many seeds. Note to self for next time, don't open all the packets and soak them in water before you plant them out. So what I've decided to do is I'm gonna still plant these out, but I need to make a few more rows and I'm just gonna go ahead and make some short rows right here. I still have more seeds, so I'm gonna do a couple more rows. We did it. It only took 7 more micro rows, I guess mini rows, from here to here to get all those planted. And then I had like maybe 10 seeds left and I just randomly threw them in throughout, you know, just in case some don't sprout or whatever, maybe. So now I think this looks so cute with the lines. They're not even, but they'll do for me. I'm gonna go ahead and get some manure, and I'm gonna put a little bit of manure on top of each row. You guys, we did it. I am so glad to have that done. I guess it didn't matter if I started over here and worked my way that way or I worked my way this way, because I ended up having to do these 7 more rows anyway. But man, am I glad to have both those projects done. It was such a productive day. I'm super hot and sweaty. I need to still water. So you guys don't need to watch that. I'll make sure it gets watered. I'm actually gonna set the sprinkler out on it and probably let it go for a good 30 minutes or so and really let it soak in. I don't know why, but I guess I knew that the mushroom project was gonna be kind of a big project. So I just put it off longer than it should have been, really. I had those mushroom spores sitting for like 2 months. And so what a great relief to finally have those in the ground. I was going to show you a few more things that I was going to plant, but I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I alluded to planting tomatoes in my walkways, and you'll just have to wait for another video to see what I mean about that, because I'm hot and tired. It's Sunday afternoon and I need to get this buttoned up and kind of clean up my mess. I have a mess that needs to be taken care of, and I need to go and make sure I'm ready for the work week. So I just want to say a huge thank you guys for hanging out with me in my garden. If you want to see what this is going to look like in the coming months, go ahead and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch any of the other videos that I happen to have out right here, they'll pop up and you can go ahead and watch those. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I hope you guys had a good Mother's Day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.